the SM Media Podcast Network. Hi folks, and welcome to the second episode of SM Media's Countdown to Cheltenham 2026. I'm Scott McPike. It is always a delight to be your host as always, and to join me to look back on our first kind of big weekend of racing, particularly kind of with the show in mind, is from the Scottish Daily Mail, Callum McClurkin.
Yeah, very good, thank you. It was good. I mean, when Canton cut up a bit because of the dry ground, Aintree was pretty decent. And yeah, the thing is, probably we're getting we've had 3 walkovers in the space of 5 days, which is not ideal. And Sunday's card at Sandown was pretty poor. Couple of good Irish performances chucked in there, but going into the kind of November meeting at Cheltenham is probably where it really kind of truly takes off for everyone, doesn't it? Down the line, you're going to get your better horses out, trying to get their run ahead of Christmas time. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of probably the weekend where it starts to really kind of take off.
It kicks into gear, doesn't it? You get 3 days at Cheltenham and what looks to be a really good weekend at Navan as well, which we'll probably touch on briefly here actually, because just a couple of bits of news. Confirmed that Lalamba is going to go chasing, and we are set to see Kopek the board probably this weekend at Navan, potentially against Brighter Days Ahead. So the 2 horses we want to have a showdown in the Arkle, that looks as if we've got an idea where the starting points are. Just to say though, the Lamba's got an entry in the fight in 5th, so you never know what could happen here.
Yeah, he's got a supplementary entry for that. I wouldn't really think, obviously they did that last year with Sergino, didn't they, and try to cover off Constitution Hill. They're just doing it with Lalamba this time, probably a more unsuitable type, but yeah, that's probably more kind of a bit of a mark against Constitution Hill rather than Lalamba in that regard. Yeah, he's meant to chase and debut at Exeter, all being well, middle of next week or something like that. And he looks like a kind of chasing natural, really. It looks the right call. Surprised that it took that long to do it with, and Kopek the board. I think everyone knew that he was going this route, and the early mood music's been very positive about it. I mean, he's been clipped into 3s in places, and his scheduled starting point could bump into Brighter Days Ahead. Brighter Days Ahead's got the 2.5 mile auction where she could bump into Final Demand. So I mean, yeah, she'll be up against it probably in either regard.
So we want the clashes.
Well, you get the clashes over there, don't you? Because they've got the horses to do that.
Yeah.
We kind of struggle to, get a race out of it. To be honest, in these beginners chases series, which has been kind of a lot of the talk over here. So it'll be good to watch either way, and the owners about Kopek the board been very bullish, and the McCarthy family are, great enthusiasts of the game. This is their first proper kind of top notcher, really, and they've got an absolute gem in him. And if reports are that he's jumping really well, then it's only a really positive sign. I mean, it's the same kind of beginner's chase that Footpad made his seasonal debut, and he went unbeaten, and he went to kind of, and his novice chasing career, and he went to the 2 mile on Boxing Day, which is now back, the Irish Arkle and the Arkle, and he was odds on for each race and won them. So I mean, if you're a Kopek the board back at 3-1, that's what you want to happen.
Yeah,
down the line.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think though it's all systems go next week. I think we could be talking about Lalamba and Kopek at the board. Let's look back at our last weekend of racing. Obviously, we'll start on Friday. We'll go to the big races first. We'll look at the Haldon Gold Cup, which was won by Thistle Ask, who I certainly didn't fancy in the morning. I think it was as big as 18-1 in the morning. That backed into 3s, and the Skeltons managed to get this going. This is what the Skeltons do into it. It was a kind of a week as we've got into where some of their horses didn't run to form, as probably putting it mildly, but they certainly kind of recovered themselves at the weekend with Thistle Ask starting well on Friday. There's a few things in here, obviously. Thistle Ask winning, JPR won, and Caliph de Belly not running to form though.
Yeah, I mean, he's improved the guts of 2 Stone, hasn't he? He used his race fitness from the front and beat them off really well there. It's a really clever kind of buy from the in horses and trading sale from the Skeltons, and if you get a few like that, that'll definitely help them in the title running for sure, because they get campaigned a little bit oddly. I just think it's their novices really that are a bit backward and are taking the run, and the rest of their horses, you can kind of follow them for reasonable price points for them to be ready. And when they go out like that in the front and they do you for fitness, then the rest of you are really kind of in trouble in behind. So he was unexposed. He was getting a chunk of weight, mind you, as well, and he's improved. He had the guts to 2 stone in 3 weeks, which is it's. I think it's hard for a lot of kind of British punters to get their head around that way of thinking. It's kind of a more kind of Irish ploy, and if he maps them out like that, and it's that kind of level of thinking that's getting him, a lot of these kind of very good horses with a lot of different owners. I don't know if you saw his kind of racing post stable tour.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an 8-page kind of spread, and the sheer quantity of numbers that he had. A lot of different owners here. I mean, he had won it the week for Ronnie Bartlett, and Sir Alex Ferns had come in. He's obviously got GP McManus with the new Lion. He's got a wide range of kind of options here for him now. And to be honest, he's now without doubt, when you're looking at any card, he's without doubt. The Skeltons are the first team that you look for in the books. It's no longer Nicky Henderson or Paul Nichols that you give massive respect to, but that's times have changed. He's in front, and he's well in front, and he's going further and further clear. And horses like that at that level, it doesn't really take a great deal to kind of get one from obscurity to kind of nick these kind of graded handicaps at bottom weight. So it was a wonderful ride, and it just kind of caught most in the hop, really.
Yeah, and I think as well, like the likes of Caliph de Berley, who we were expecting, I was surprised he took the run up. I don't think it was just ground that was issue with him, though. I thought it was a poor run. Maybe not, again, maybe like you can forgive a horse one bad run, but you would be hoping to see better next time. And where do you go next time with him?
Yeah, I was kind of mooting him for when they had the last week, kind of like he was in the Champion Chase discussion, and he's out of it now. That was the kind of thing. But I mean, the bookies couldn't give him away, at the start, even though when he was running, which was significant. But he was beaten at halfway, well beaten by halfway. Harry Cobb never looked happy. His jumping lacked any zest, and a top weight kind of was obviously going to anchor him, and he never really made any inroads. And connections were saying afterwards that he might be a 3 miler down the line. So he's just going to gradually go him up and trip, and all of a sudden you're looking at kind of, well, it's difficult to see him being a kind of graded horse in the back of that. So yeah, I mean, you might work back to that, like what they did with Caldwell Power, that 2.5 mile race at Cheltenham, in the handicap. Just say, let's get him find his feet, get his mark under 150, make it more reasonable or something like that. But he's not a novice anymore, so he'll have to go in the open company. So it'll have to be the plate, obviously. But that's a Cheltenham target, but that's a long kind of way down the line. I think just because it has to kind of find his feet, and he might be one of these kind of second season novices now that'll be pretty difficult for them to place. But I think it'll be better than that in his next race. He'll probably be up and trip. But yeah, as for graded aspirations, I think they'll have to be well on hold, and just maybe further confirmation that the last year's novices weren't that great, maybe.
Right, let's go to the Grand Sefton at Aintree on Saturday. It was won by Conal Harry for Jamie Snowden, who's another trainer who's flying at the moment. Beat Gabarayo, who was second. You had the likes of Excello in here. It was quite a kind of open race. A lot of the kind of right horses came at the floor, but Conal Harry hasn't been seen since falling on New Year's Day behind Springwell Bay. I couldn't have had him for this, but it shows you when you've got a trainer in form, they pick the right target. It looks to be full onto the beach for him.
Strong money for him in the morning, which is significant because he was in my shortlist, but then he was back to almost in a favourite really in the morning line. There was 8.91 about him, and then he was quickly sixes, 5.11 to 2.61, and that's kind of where it goes for each way. But he's just the latest recent trend of really top weighted classy horses just winning this now, don't they? I mean, we saw it with Gentleman de May. Saw it with Nick Rocket. We see it with Iron Maximus, in Nationals. Even the kind of Tophams of the world and things like that. These are the horses that now win it. If you've got class and you can jump up front, you're going to be very hard to beat. And he was the classiest horse in the race and won. And he did have good back class, form the last day, but he was kind of competitive in all these red hot handicaps, which I think the rest of them would maybe struggle in. You had the second and third that were the third and first last year, kind of competing quite well. Gabarro's always one that you can follow in here. It was amazing. He went off 16-1. He's place banker guaranteed really, because Sean Bone was on the wrong one. The White Rhino was readily outpaced from the back. So you need to get a position over the national fences now. You can't really get into it from the rear too much. And Colonel Harry kind of bossed it, went out wide and won quite smartly. As a classy horse all of a sudden tends to do in these races over national fences. So class angle looks to be the best angle. And
I thought Excello ran a pretty decent race, right? He was way too keen at the start, was about 6 or 7 wide, jumped quite badly. It's just again though, like he's not a horse I would back to win a race, but there's something in him. He could be the next Mr. Coffee.
well, he won a wee novice race, didn't he? At Ascot, and then he kind of had to go back in the hurdles. He won that kind of really young, so he's been kind of tricky to place, but maybe he's found his kind of niche there. He's Colonel Harry, looks like a 2.5 mile. I wouldn't be rushing to go up to 3 miles of the beaches for him. And the second was Antipost favourite for it last year, and then it gets scuppered by the weather. So so he's probably the one that would naturally benefit from going up and 3 miles. He certainly was. He was trying to kind of jostle for position and kind of get. He was at the kind of back end of that argy-bargy match from the back of the last, but stayed on really well for second. So I think in terms of the Beecher, I think he was definitely the one to take out. It was old Gabarro.
Let's go to Wincanton, the Rising Stars Novices Chase. It was a grade 2. It was won by Blue King Daru, who obviously was a classy hurdler. Won this, had to obviously beat a horse of Anthony Honeyball's, who was giving him a tight. He had to get by him really, really late. What do we think this form is like? Do you think Blue King Daru's get better in him?
No, no. Well, I mean, he does it better in him, but it's not going to be relevant come springtime, really, in top graded horses. He's a bit of a clumsy. He reminds me a lot of kind of maybe Stay Away Fay, where he lacks a bit of scope over a fence, and he'd be better over further. And you could see him as a kind of maybe. He probably needs a marathon trip really to be competitive, and 3 miles. 3 miles plus. I don't think he'd have enough class for a Brown Advisory. His superior rating kind of got him out of trouble there at the end from back end the last. And I think Harry Colvin was always reasonably confident he was going to win that. He was entitled to win it. He was one of those trappy 10-11 in money favourites where you think, yeah, he'll win, but there's going to be scares involved. And there was a few in the jumping department where I just think things were happening a little bit quickly and he wasn't really getting a lot of air into his fences. So he'll win races down the line, but the likes of like even Cato Stars at Kempton and stuff, it's probably a bit ambitious. So I don't think he's a grade 1 animal over fences, but he could find something down the line, could get himself nicely handicapped, might take his chance in like Scottish National maybe down the line, but I think if you over campaign him in graded races, they might be disappointed.
Right, let's go to the elite hurdle. Rubo went off 1-8 and won the race by a neck. Callum, I kind of want to go on a wee mini rant about this because this should not be a grade 2 anymore because this race was woeful.
Yeah, I mean, Robo's won it third time in a row now, and there was even less opponents to date. I mean, if Burdett Road wasn't chasing, he'd probably turned up, and Rubo and Burdett Road dusted each other down at Kempton in a listed race just before that.
A
So,
149 horse shouldn't be 1-8 in a grade 2.
well, I think it was too short anyway, really. I thought
Yeah.
it should have been a 1-3 chance, particularly with the Nichols yard. They were going pretty in and out. I wouldn't have backed him into 1-8. He made hard work of it again. He does that. He can't do that. Got out of trouble and one okay, but he needed a lot of rustling and a lot of it. And he was even reluctant to kind of even jump off, which was kind of alarming. So he probably had a hard enough race at the start, and that's caught up with him a bit. But he pulled out the fire, and there's not a lot more to be said. And these races are just kind of it's hard to get any excitement over them really for
No.
the punter or for the additional fan. If you're paying money to go and watch that, and that's supposed to be the flagship thing, it's not ideal.
No, it's really not. And again, like Rubo can probably do both. I mean, he was decent over fences as well. I think that you will see him kind of do both hurdles and fences over the season, but I don't think his targets are kind of Cheltenham minded.
Mark kind of sums him up, doesn't he? High
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. Right, let's go. We're going to do three impressive performances at Cauterai over the week each. We'll start with your. What was your kind of highlight of the week for a kind of racing perspective?
The Monday with Mydaddypaddy.
Okay.
Just seeing a classy operator, really. I mean, okay, he's probably beat nothing at Carlisle, and you know, visually looked pressed at the times okay, things like that. But he just looked the part, didn't he? And he was the hype horse of the Skeltons over 2 miles. And obviously, if you mentioned a novice hurdler to them, his name was the one that always came up, and he kind of showed why, really, and jumped very slightly, efficiently, completely outclassed them. And he looked a very complete 2 mile novice already. Said they wouldn't be afraid to go up and trip with him. He's the early 7-1 supreme favourite, which is ridiculous, but it's just nice to see a British horse come out early and set down a decent enough early marker. And he'll probably go to the Formby, we know that Sober Glory would probably go there, Johnson White,
Yep.
and that's already shaping up to be, a decent kind of target in the Boxing Day. So whether one of them takes in another race before then, they might to get extra experience in, but they both look pretty professional that they'd go there anyway. So hopefully another couple can come out and that could be a really good race.
Yeah, I was going to say Sober Glory as well. I thought he looked very good. Again, he was backed as if it was a good thing. I quite like the second Cadastral. I don't think he was one of the Skelton horses I was kind of talking about, who I think was just out for a bit of experience. But I think he'll improve for the run. Sober Glory again. It's always nice to see Philip Holmes have a good one, and you can tell he hasn't had a good one in a while because he said the target for this horse was a Tolworth at Sandown, which when was the last time that was? 2, 3 years ago. So
Yeah, it's a few years ago, yeah.
good to see him. Obviously, I would like to see like Sober Glory and Mydaddypaddy are the kind of two novices that have caught the eye so far. What I liked about Sober Glory is though is it just how when he was asked to go because he had kind of the control of the race, but when he was asked to go just after the second last, he looked as if he had the pace to handle it fine. And I always like to see the colours of a good one as well. They haven't really Brocade have obviously not had a really good one in a while, but I think they might have a good one here, and hopefully you see him and Mydaddypaddy line up in the form. I think that'd be good.
Yeah, that seems to be the plan. Both of them were punted quite strongly, really. So yeah, it's just kind of encouraging to see kind of two novices that are definitely worth following at the minimum trip that early on in the season, particularly in this side of the war.
Yep. Who's your second horse performance?
Stuart and Irish Panther, I
Ooh.
thought was quite good in this. Won by 8 lengths from Jacob's Ladder, which usually a kind of strong kind of little beginner's chase for Eddie Patrick Harty. I mean, remember him being in this ridiculously hot county hurdle where he was 10th. The winner Cargis is obviously graded class, and Daly won the Galway hurdle. Absurd did his thing in Melbourne's rated 100 and odd in the flat. Ethical Diamond won the Breeders' Cup. The sixth is won subsequently. The seventh won the Scottish Champion hurdle. Doesn't get much better than that in terms of red hot form, and he jumped really well. And I think they might you might be missed in kind of these kind of races. Is he likely going to be graded class? No, but you can see him coming back round again. He was 12-1 that day for the county hurdle, which is in a strong county hurdle as well. And he was only beaten 7 lengths, but sailed up at the back, pushed wide as well that day, and didn't really get the chance. But he's quickly made that transition into hurdles quite quickly. He was rated 128. Could get something similar, and he could maybe win decent kind of handicaps in the back end of the season as well. So he just jumped very efficiently, neatly, and it just kind of caught the eye. And it might be one that people miss after the kind of the bigger races earlier on in the day.
Yeah, he took the race well. It was a weird sort of beginner's chase, wasn't it? Because they put the wall park in here, and it was what 10-11 in the morning. Then went out to 5-1, and it looked as if he didn't want to jump a fence. And there was like a horse at the
Trip's
Brom.
too short, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
he's a mile plus horse. Why would he start him there? And that did badly catch him out. So he's definitely worth a second chance. And yeah, and the Bromhead rated favourite didn't really kind of show his
he
true
took a
colours.
bell with the first, didn't he? His kind of race was run after
But the
that.
natural, I was kind of awkward that he kind of
Uh,
corkscrewed it, didn't he, in the
mhm.
air? But he led narrowly. He kind of came up prominent, and he was kind of genuine 2 mile pace and beat Jacob's Ladder quite well.
Mhm.
He's a reasonable enough horse in second by 8 lengths. So just thought he was kind of an actual 2 miler, and I know he's 8, so you're pressing quite hard at the late in his career to go this way, but so he should be quite professional. But keep him ticking over and get a decent mark. He could do some damage in the spring.
Yep, absolutely. We'll go to, for me, a horse at Gowran Park on Saturday, Break My Soul. Probably my only kind of that winner of the weekend was Break My Soul. It was a good performance by Ian Donoghue. His son Keith on board, beat Qualamita, who's just another horse I don't understand why they're still persisting with 2 miles, but she did it very well. She went out to 6-1. I think there's a potential kind of nice season for her. She jumped well. She was again another horse who just took the race well. Lantry Lady didn't fire either. She was, I think she had a, I think the vet said she was blown after the race, but I think Break My Soul could be a good one for this season.
Yeah, she's in good form back home in Britain. Wayne Donoghue now. He's a very underrated Irish trainer by all accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, definitely could be, again, maybe a bit like Irish Panther, one that might go under the radar because of connections. So, it might be a good kind of cheeky one to follow.
And they weren't afraid to put her in the kind of big races because obviously they ran her in the entry hurdle and they ran her at Punchestown as well. So they've given her like they do obviously think something over. So it might just be that kind of fences. I'm not saying a mare's chase, but she could take a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's no doubt. I mean, a long way to go, but yeah, if you keep improving like that and have a chance. And she wasn't really strongly backed. She was backed as if she kind of maybe needed the run anyway. So if you can build on that, then you're going to go into higher company. Definitely worth taking a chance.
Yep. Who's your third one?
That one would be Doyen Quest. I thought he was pretty good. Putting Quebecois to the sword. A great day for Dan Skelton. Again, just another one that's been kind of found in the ratings, just delivered prominently to get the big pot in the end of the day, and he did it really well. I don't think it was kind of a total flash in the pan either. And you can see him kind of going for one of these kind of nice kind of 3 mile races. Might even be good enough for a Cato Star
Mm-hmm.
going that way if they campaign him aggressively enough. We've got races at like Warwick and Hampton Courts, stuff like that. So there's plenty of options down that kind of stay novice chaser, and he did have some decent enough handicap form. He did progress quite rapidly, and he's a horse that's able to kind of bring up sequences. So he knows how to win, and when they ride him and they ride him prominent, but he attacked every fence and just caught maybe most of them up in Quebec were trying to make gains, but he was never gaining on him through the air at all at any point, and his jumping was never going to get him back in the game. So he jumped out really smartly, and you can just see him doing that a couple of times at the start of the season, particularly if the rest of the British novices kind of struggle. We've got Derry and Paddy running at air on Wednesday, who might stake a claim in that kind of division and might be the head of it. So that would be interesting down the line. But as for the moment, he wasn't quite never really kind of graded class as a hurdler, a top class grade hurdler, but chasing just improved a little bit. And then once the kind of proverbial handbrake's gone off at Skelton HQ, then they just whiz from the front, and they're really well skilled and professional jumpers, and it's catch me if you can stuff, and they were unable to with Doyen Quest, and never really looked likely. And Quebec, I think, would be kind of. I think the Nichols team would be as disappointed seeing Quebec were getting beat as Calf de Berlin.
Yeah, I
To
think they
be
fancied.
honest,
Yeah, I think they think.
a sobering day for them.
Yeah, I think they thought he would be better than Blue Kangaroo. Right, my third performance is, and I'm not one to be bullish about Cheltenham. Well, I am a wee bit, but I think we've seen a good one here. I think they stepped up in post 23 miles. You mentioned about Mashantu last week. He won this qualifier at Aintree really well. He's now up to 153. I think they've got
Mm-hmm.
to try to take their chance in graded company.
It's kind of another JP McManus conversation of the Wall Park Mark II, isn't it?
I thought this was a really good performance. It was second behind Jimmy Desoy. It just wasn't winning races at 2.5 miles and always felt he needed three, and then they've stepped him up. It was backed into 5-2 favourite. Really patient ride. I think you have to try him. I would go long walk if it was me. I think he's got to go
Yeah,
there.
can do it if the timing's right. Yeah, I mean, definitely graded races for him. There's a valuable race at Haydock that's targeted by pretty much everyone, but that might be a quickish turnaround there. Nicky Henderson came out said afterwards that he'd be surprised it was graded class. I think if you win like that off top weight 148, then 153 puts you in
It's a
graded
surprise
company
he's
anyway.
only got £5 because I actually thought it was I thought it was a really nice display.
Yeah, and I thought maybe he might needed the run as well for it, but obviously he didn't. Nah, he's taken it out quite nicely. And again, I think you have to roll the dice, find a grade two for him, and go for there and see where you're at. And if he wins that, he's a stairs hurdle contender. It's about 20 to 1 for that. It's
Hmm.
probably worse each way bets, isn't there? But he could protect him for top like pair top. Thing is, he's got like horses like Dory the Great, isn't he? And who won it last year and has to kind of go upgrade company and try it. Maybe a bit too hot for him, but he wasn't. He's only like a length and a half behind Strong Leader, and they kind of hung that away that day. And Strong Leader's probably your kind of leading kind of grade two type away from Cheltenham, isn't he? So yeah, I mean, his Ascot is suitable for him.
I mean, they might go to Newbury for the long distance. Is that maybe that's the kind of start of December, isn't it? That's something you could see happening, and then take their chance in a long walk.
Maybe a bit more galloping track,
Yeah,
possibly, yeah. But yeah, he's 3 miles. He's got to trip well, exposed with the right yard, obviously the right owner, and he's still young enough as well, isn't he? So yeah, see what happens for sure.
yeah.
But he's definitely capable.
Yeah, and I think the second as well. I wouldn't put MD off the second for the times chasing fire again. The Murphys were flying as well. Like he looked as if he relished the 3 miles. I wouldn't say he's a bad price for upper temps anyway. If you're already thinking of that. Just a couple obviously as well. We saw Spindleberry and Ellie de Toms win at Clonmel. Ellie de Toms did it as impressively as you want, and Spindleberry, two Wally Mullins horses who knew what they were doing, and you'd imagine the best is yet to come for the season.
Yeah, odds on, different kind of rides. I'd like to talk was nicely well measured to pick up the Soul Danger. Probably just to make sure that he would get that trip when debut, and did it easily. Tingle Creek bound, imagine for him, where he's joint favourite with John Bonnie runs this weekend, and then you've got Spindleberry, who again look very, very good. Raced exclusively right-handed, as you mentioned, but I don't know if that's been by kind of design. It doesn't seem to be. I mean, it just seems to be how the program books kind of fell for her. Keeps improving, and yeah, she looks apart. And joint favourite for the males chase now with Dino Blue, and Dino Blue comes out Sunday in the
Yeah.
Fortria.
Yeah. Well, what we're going to do next is we're going to cover the November meeting at Cheltenham. We'll maybe touch kind of ground, kind of naving into one kind of after that, but we're going to go to Friday first of all. We don't have declarations as it stands, but we'll start with the slower chase at 2:55 on Friday, and it looks like John Bond is going to return here. He's 4-6. You've got Load of Sud for the Skeletons at 4-1, Liberty Hunter, Edward Stone, Boot Hill, Matata, and the kind of rest Kaliko, Brookie, Haddon, Days of O. John Bond, it's usually his starting point. Again, rising 10, should have the beaten of these on ratings. It's just, where's Load of Sud? Is Load of Sud good enough to challenge him?
It's a question, I mean, he's obviously kind of second favourite now because he's kind of a novice coming into it, and there's mixed messages about that novice form. Only by night coming out and winning the weekend was pretty impressive in beating Champ Kiley in a trip that's probably too sharp for both of them. So that's given it a kind of boost, but it did look kind of pigeonholed a little bit, that form. It might not be. It might be a bit better than it looks. We'll see how close he get, and Skeletons is now a yard to be kind of feared in that regard. So, and John Bond won this the last twice to varying degrees of being impressive. Always doing enough last year. 2 years ago it was a bit simpler. He should have enough in the tank to win this. Nicky Henderson's better horses seem forward enough at this stage of the season, and I'd imagine, barring any mishaps, he'd take it out. Whether it's a betting race, it probably isn't.
Probably isn't a betting race for me, but I do expect John Bond to win. The next one I think could be a betting race. We've got the Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. It's always kind of quite a decent trial. Heads Up, who was second in the champion bumper last season, is 15-8 at the time of recording. We've got 4-1. We only have done Gavin Cromwell. No drama this end. Great Fleet, Money Garrow. I want to put up a wee mention for No Drama this end and here. I liked him last season as a bumper horse. Remember he was entered in the race at Wind Beneath My Wings one, and I kind of fancied him for that. He came out obviously at Chris, just I think it was New Year's Eve, put in a good performance at Warwick. I think the champion bumper, he was one of several horses who just didn't like the pace of the race
Mm-hmm.
and ran pretty well in it. Finished ninth. I generally, again, we'll get into probably Heads Up in a minute, but I don't think that bumper is I don't think the top of the field are going to be that good, to be honest. I think it will be more your kind of horses that finish midfield that will kick on, the likes of like No Drama This End, Copacabana, Game of Inches, even like Fortune Demare's obviously was 14th in this and went on and won a grade two. I just think No Drama This End. I think there's a lot answered about him. He took a bump in there, so he only finished ninth. If he finished ninth in the race, but probably would have got closer on a better type of race. Beat a good horse of the Skeltons that day at Warwick, who I think they thought a lot of. So I'm going to give him a shout in here at 5-1 if they do take their chance, because I think he has got a bit of potential in him this season.
Yes, I think if they all ran to their potential, the maximum potential here, I think he's the best horse in the race. But Nichols has himself admitted that these Yard went missing at that
Mm-hmm.
time of the season last year, and he has put this guy forward as his best novice. So I mean, he could be another Hermes Allen, something, take this out and be too good. You just have to kind of monitor the market and see what
Mm-hmm.
happens and trust, really. Um, the Irish are just naturally kind of there, heads up. That's a chance. Is he should he be 15 to 8 to 1 clear favourite? Probably not. There's good word for the Gavin Cromwell horse. Fell the last day. If he's over that, he's definitely in contention. Great Fleet's got that form in behind Corman John already, so we know what he can do and sets a decent standard. And Skelton's picked him in front of Money Garrow, who's the one that I quite like, is one of the five to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he could be a handicap project going up and he can see him kind of running at the back trying to stay it. Well, I think he could probably see the kind of archetypal race that he might get, out the back of the TV, trying to get the trip and box on, and it might be another race towards getting a mark for him. Um, Time for Tom. It's interesting for Russell Scudamore because they have a line through Great Fleet with Corman John, and
Mm-hmm.
their horses are improving quite decently for their second run. So it's a nice little competitive race, and I'd definitely be waiting closer to the time, see if this rain comes as well, which is going to make a big difference. That might be a negative for the favourite, actually. And
Yeah.
if that might make it even kind of stronger emphasis on stamina, which means you're probably kind of looking towards your kind of more of your stairs type. Great Fleet does catch the eye,
Mm-hmm.
just with the scales and stuff. The likes of 6 and 7 to 1 at the moment, but again, it's another race that I'm reluctant to have a bet on at this stage.
Yeah, anything else for Friday? Obviously, we've got a couple of decent handicaps. Obviously, the Veterans Chase, our old friend Mr. Coffee is looks to be in here as well. I was going to give a shout out actually to Gunsight Ridge and that for the Murphys. 220, I actually think leave of absence is a good chance for Anthony Honeyball, who's another yard
And
that are kind of going pretty well at the moment. Beat Pied Piper at Cheltenham, looks to be just a horse that's gradually improving. Was obviously second behind the change in man at Ascot in the Reynoldstown, so there's definitely more to come. I think he's actually a good bet. He's probably the best bet in day one for me.
yeah, I think it's an interesting little competitive race. That I think Weird Out's got a future for sure. Be Aware entered in this. It's surprising. I thought the minimum might be more suitable to the
I
three
think
mile
he is.
length
I
race.
think I did see. I think he is going in the Arkle trial.
I would imagine so. He's entered, he's jocked up
Yeah.
here, but I think the rain will probably see him kind of be taken out there. Isaac Debeau, there's something in him still,
Mm-hmm.
and Double Powerful has a hurdle rating that's entitled for him to go close. He's had a run under his belt this season, so I find that a tricky race where I wouldn't be quick to rule anything out at the moment. And again, I think you've got to know how much rain's coming. And if it's
Yeah.
quite a lot, I mean, it could turn it heavy by the close of play.
Right, let's go to Saturday. We'll start with the Grade 2 Triumph Trial Juvenile Hurdle. James Owens won it the past 2 years with East India Dock and Burdett Road. This does look very interesting because there's a lot of horses here. We're going on what we've heard. We're not going on form with this. Precious Man, obviously coming from France for the Skeltons. It was a good word for the Pipe Yard for Parchment. Hallelujah You was, and do you remember he ran very well in that Queen's Vase in, I think, Scandinavia, finished in front of him. So he's obviously he's quite high in the Triumph market, which makes me think he maybe is the James Owen horse that they're kind of targeting for this. And Secret Force was nice last time out for Gavin Cromwell. So I'd love all four of these to take their chance. I doubt they will, but it's kind of going on what yard do you trust is going to have the horse most forward here.
Yeah, just sit back and watch. To be honest,
Mm-hmm.
really, I mean, you don't know anything about these, so the market will move for something or the other. And, James Owens' yard is targeted really smart types at this race before. So you have to imagine that's the number one. Precious Minds say there's a strong word for Parchment as well, Secret Force. They're definitely the four in the market that have come for support because we know that they've got a kind of strong reputation behind them. There's others in there that could run a kind of a surprisingly big race in the background. I mean, the Jane Williams horse, could be
Donald
one.
McCain's actually was pretty decent when I thought.
Matiwu, but
Yeah,
it's
he
it's
was with
it's
Ollie
rare
Murphy, wasn't
it's rare that an outsider kind of comes
he?
and wins this anyway. So you just hope that you kind of see. But these races, 3-year-old races in November. I mean, just watch them. In my
Yeah,
opinion,
I wouldn't be
I'll have
out.
absolutely no strong opinion. The Precious Man's got a penalty. Partswood's got a smaller penalty. So, I mean, if you're backing them blind on reputation, it probably would be Hallelujah You, but it's given the ownership really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kate O'Reilly's got Bowen on board. But I'd imagine the market's telling you which is the right one there. Would Gavin Cromwell have slightly better at home, perhaps? Maybe not fully known for his kind of juvenile horses, even though he's kind of getting better stock in, isn't he? So yeah, you just hope that you get kind of one of the better kind of horses kind of come forward and take this. Maybe hoping that it's a British horse because best British horses kind of tend to contend here when they do. East India Dock, Birthday Road, Night Salute won this, All Mankind won this, Kildestan, Defi de Soy. So if an Irish just wins it, it could maybe be slightly disappointing in terms of it might be second tier stuff. But you get one of these Brits winning it, then it really should kind of
I think whatever
kind of
wins
set
this
the
will go
standard.
favourite. Yeah,
Precious Man wins it. I mean, Dan Skelton all of a sudden, I mean, he'd have a team of decent novices and juveniles to go with.
mm-hmm.
Didn't really have last year, barring the new line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We'll move into the Arco Challenge Novices Chase. This is obviously a trial for the Arco. It's been won by Arco winners in the past. July Flower is 11-8 here. You've got Bird Road, obviously we mentioned. Be Aware, I'm imagining, is going to go here. You've got the likes of Relieved of Duties and Stencil. It's a very good race. I'm going to give you, obviously, I'd imagine you, if July Flower takes her chance, you would back her.
Possibly. Again, though, I mean, Bird Road's to that pipe opener and over hurdles and was second a champion hurdle.
Yeah.
In July Flower, you do have to remember her performance here last season where she kind of went missing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Looked like a 3 miler, and then you visit her Limerick performance, and you go, well, what did you really beat over further? Can you handle this drop in pace where you are up against a kind of a horse that's normally quite forward this part of the season and was second a champion hurdle? So maybe Burdett Road's actually the bet here. Related Duties isn't totally out of it on ratings. And Be Aware coming back and tripped, I imagine
I'd
would be
fancy
winning.
Be Aware to go here. I think if he goes here, I
I think
think
they
it's
would. I think the weather would dictate that really,
yeah.
surely. So we'll see. Brentford Hope possibly. Stencil's been the one that's kind of had a quick kind of mention, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
At 16s, he's been clipped into 10s. It's that kind of young horse that was
Cobden
went off
on board.
favourite.
I think Cobden's going to take the ride, I believe.
Went off 11-4 favourite for the Boodles.
Yeah.
Cobden is on board, and he was just a complete chaser. So he could completely reinvent it, and he gets that kind of weight concession for being a 4-year-old as well. So if he's a natural to it, he could take to it really well and be a player. So tentatively going in the Bird Road camp at the moment, but again,
Okay.
it's a you have to see the ground. I'll have to wait.
Yeah. Let's go to the big race, the Paddy Power Gold Cup. You've got Jaguar in here at 4-1. Last year's win at El Ridotto at 6s, along with Vincenzo for Sam Thomas. Panic Attack for the Skeltons at 7-1. The likes of the Company Sergeant Bad coming up easy. Again, ground's going to play a big part. Jaguar 4-1, won the plate last year. Only again, kind of 148. Still, I think there's more to come off this mark. Anything you like in here? Because I kind of with this is just like I'll wait until the day and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, Jaguar and El Ridotto have been up the front of this market for a long, long time, and I think the ground going the way of Jaguar, he's probably now going to be marginal favourite, and I can see why. He's got the young unexposed profile for this. There's definitely bucket loads more to come, and if there's a graded horse in the race, it's him. Matata is going to go slower by the looks of it. Definitely with the price wise and in the ground, I would think. So that takes a kind of pace angle away from it a little bit. It's just whether Jaguar gets a bit too far back, makes a mistake, knocks it again. But I think they kind of not really do that. Vincenzo's has a chance. Panic Attack, obviously, there's a chance. Again, there's just money for Scotland Yard coming all the time just to protect it, really. The two Irish horses, Company Sergeant, coming up easy.
I actually think he could have a wee chance here to.
Not without claims. So yeah, Esperfecto's 10, a bit old, risking the ground. There was some good words for Hunter Legend at the start of the week, so very competitive, but I wouldn't be any rush to oppose the favourite right now, particularly with the weather kind of definitely coming his way, and he's just got so much potential that mark of 148 can be exploited. And it's a yard that can get one ready for a race like this, a seasonal reappearance, and with the ground going against maybe the kind of immediate ones a little bit in behind him in the market. I think he's making a bit of appeal. Does take it. Wouldn't really want to see much shorter than 4-1, but on the day it won't get any shorter than that.
Yeah, I'm a wee word for the Company Sergeant, but I think it's just wait and see what the ground's like. But we'll go into the 255. We've got the handicap hurdle over 3 miles. Skelton's have Supremely West. We've got Long Draw, Classic King, likes of Royal Infantry. Jinko Blue is in here, but I don't imagine this is the plan for him. Anything you like in here?
Again, the favourite does take the eye in terms of profile. Supremely West. He's had that kind of run under his belt. He's had the wind up, and you can just see him leaving that behind. Long Draw, I think, is a good ground horse. Might struggle with the weather there. Classic King has a slight chance with Lavelles. And yeah, there'll probably sleepers, in behind. London Office calling the Cromwell is quite an interesting one, given he's just a kind of wee spin over the flat maybe for this. So he might be the kind of the unexposed Irish angle in there if he takes his chance, but right at the foot of the weight. So I would keep an eye on him. But the favourite he looks like another one that's fairly difficult to oppose.
Yep, and then the 330, I want to put a wee word in for Duran Con, who if they go here, I think it probably will need to be a bit softer for him to go, but I'd imagine this rain will make it. I think in the Saturday will be at least they'll be soft in the description. I know it's good to soften out, but I'd be very surprised if it isn't soft ground by Saturday if we're going to get all this rain. So I would give Duran Con a mention. On to Sunday now. There's a thing up here in the Racing Post just as we're recording to say that the Greatwood at 330, which is obviously one of the big handicaps of this season, might not have as many hurdles due to the low sun. So whether it turns into a kind of more of a kind of flat race, but we've got here at the time of recording Alexei and Mirabad at 7-1. You've got Celtic Dino, Gibbs Island, Iberico Lord won't go here. You've got Serious Challenge, and then the likes of a couple of Irish Raiders, Bones and Fire, going here as well, and put a pound in the jar as well for the Martin team. Anything you like from this?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite bold to have a weather description right now out of that weather. Again, I mean, hurdles coming out of it, it's no real surprise. We've seen that before. It's just that time of year, really. I remember when they run the bumper here in pretty much pitch black darkness. So because they waited so long to see if the sun was going to go down, that it actually went down. So yeah, I mean that's how it kind of that's how it kind of goes after a kind of delay. Again, there's just massive respect for the Skelton horse Mirabad, and probably because he's going to get his ground here, because Alexei and Celtic Duno are more kind of akin to having maybe a bit of good in the ground rather than soft. Gibbs Island probably is a high enough mark for a 4-year-old. Every Lord won this 2 years ago, and could be in it. I mean, if he's kind of cherry ripe and fit, he wouldn't be surprised if he took it out. Good move for Serious Challenge. I was a bit disappointed in the last day because I thought that was a race that the O'Brien Yard tend to target, but it might have just been a float up for this, which is a more valuable prize. And Bones and Fire shape really, really well. And whether this is his trip or not, I'm not too sure, but he's definitely got a race in him. And Alan King's record in this is really good. So Castle Carrick and Hale and Wine are definitely worth a second look. So very competitive, fiercely proud. Also going close. He's gone completely missing ever since, but Ben Pollingard in good enough form, and if they come back into decent form, he's not out of it. So it's really competitive stuff. Again, though, the money for Mydaddypaddy, the respect, it's just definitely ominous. And you look at the card initially and you think, don't really want to be taking these on too much.
Yeah, I was gonna. Ground might be against them, but I think Serious Challenge could do okay. Again, if it was the ground now, I think Serious Challenge have a good chance. I just don't know how he acts in soft ground. I think I'm kind of with you in Maribad. I think the ground will be very telling here.
He won in air when the ground wasn't great.
Yeah,
Serious challenge. I wouldn't be
yeah,
bothered with ground. It just
okay.
it's coming back and trip 2 miles. I think
hmm
would be concerned. Yeah, I think it's got a chance.
Sam Thomas said as well, obviously in an interview I listened to yesterday, that it doesn't want any more rain for Celtic Dino, so I would kind of rule him out for me because I think we're going to get some sort of rain. And I'd probably give, again, maybe one of the King horses. I think Helmwine would probably be the one I prefer of the two. But again, very interesting race. I like the fact it's 71 the field, and I don't think it will change very much. I don't think you'll get one here. You might get a Skelton, the Maribad might get short, but I don't think it's going to be like back in the days. Remember when the Paul Byrne horse was like it went off about 15-8 in this. That won't happen in here.
Yeah, but Birdie Road went last year 72, didn't he?
Yeah,
And Isarinos was 94th favourite. So
forget that. Forget that. Paul Byrne. It was an Emmett Mullins. Was that Wally Mullins actually? Forget the name of the horse. But it was that went into like 15-8 and ran no race at all. It wasn't meeting the waters, but it was those colours. But
it was only a matter of time as one, wasn't it?
that was the one. I think it could have been that one, yeah. But there was one maybe years before that. But yeah, it's always a good race. It's always a good meeting. We've obviously got Navan as well over the weekend, where a couple of graded races on Saturday, and you've also got the Troy Town on Sunday. Just looking at the kind of Troy Town, some decent operators turning up, better days ahead. Kay de Bourbon's in here. Kay de Bourbon, this is the sort of race he would win, I would say.
Yeah, it's just not really a race Willie Mullins goes for, is it
Mm-hmm.
really? At the start of the season. And better days ahead would interest me because I just think I thought he travelled into it the best in the Irish National. Didn't get home.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 3-5, 3-6 over a big week, kind of caught him out. I think coming back to 3 miles here is good. And to be honest, the winning roll call of this has just been kind of classy young Elliott horses.
Mm-hmm.
Stu Zucchini, Coco Beach, Run Wild
Was it last
Fred.
year he had like 14 in the race? I think it was only 16 runners and he had 14 of them or something. Was it last year or the year before?
Probably, yeah. And Stu Zucchini was the one that won it. I mean, it's usually the case, isn't it? I mean, it's normally him and Gavin Cromwell that have the majority of the field. But he's kind of classy horses, kind of tend to win this. Whether he's carrying too much weight, I don't know. But I think he's eminently capable, and he's going to get the cut in the ground that he would like. And it's definitely a big race for him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he took his chance in graded races, really, because I thought he shaped quite well in the Brown Advisory. Where I thought he had excuses. He's probably just, again, like maybe a lot of Gordon Elliott's, he's just probably grade 2 at his best, and having to sit and suffer on a lot of these handicaps. But I think he's definitely capable, and they might put a £7 claim on. I don't know, but I still quite like him as a horse. I think he's got a chance, and you watch the kind of like from 2 out, he just kind of ran out of puff really in the Irish National. That was a good Irish National. It just didn't stay,
Mm-hmm.
and his big weight kind of anchored him a little bit. So I think coming back in trip's going to massively help him here. And if he can travel and kind of swing away, and he jumps quite really efficiently. I think he's definitely got a chance. I think it'll give you a good run, like 12-1 each way at the market. I think it's a reasonable bet.
I think I'm going to go for. I think Will the Wise. I think he'd be the one here. Whether again ground wouldn't worry me too much because you think he's won in deep ground before. But again, some really good hurdles for him last season, and I think fences from what we've seen so far, kind of fences look to be his bag. The old man, the horse old man Dingle that beat him ran okay on Sunday. He obviously won. He beat Mullins horse, but again, form's looking good. I think he's if it's not deep, if it's not horrendous ground, I think Will the Wise
He
could
was
go
six
good.
in a pair Thompson, and
Yeah,
he won a handicap in heavy ground anyway at Naas over
I
that
wouldn't be
trip. So
worried
it
about him at all. I think he
wouldn't
could
worry
be
me
the
at all. Yeah, and
yeah.
he's race fit, isn't he? So
hmm
Gavin Cromwell, the weight, 10
Yeah,
stone 8 would be fine. So yeah, top of the market. He
yeah.
definitely is an obvious chance.
Think he's got a good chance. But what look, at the time of recording, obviously, well, instead of doing an anti-post this week, what's your kind of best bet of the weekend?
just don't really have one. I don't know what the ground's going to be. Maybe Burdett Road in that race against July Flower, perhaps, because he can handle soft ground as well. I think he just might have too much natural speed for the rest of the field there. So yeah, hit Burdett Road and Arkle trial at 2 to
Okay.
1.
I'm going to go for Durincon in the 3:30 on Saturday. We are going to wrap up the show there, Carl. We'll be back next week. I'd imagine we'll have some really kind of promising Cheltenham horses to talk about next week. As they can, I think this is the weekend where it kicks into gear. So I'm looking forward to this weekend.
So yeah, it definitely goes up a notch, doesn't it? And you've seen a lot of your better horses and better races starting to come out
Certainly
now.
will. Brilliant. Thank you very much, everyone that's tuned in. We'll see you all soon.